New year, new team, it's the same dream. New Knicks City units for they stay clean. I just caught mine off of Fanatics in the garden with my hands in the air, we back at it.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to SKF Weekly. You see it. We are back in the building. It is myself. It is my brother John. My brother. Jose couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately. But I got great news, guys. He will be returning to the show to be back on the ones and twos next week. So I am super excited to have Jose back. It's been a minute, and I can't wait to be able to chop it up with my brother. And also, John will be here hopefully for next week's show as well. He's everybody's got daddy duties, man. It's life be lifing, as I like to say. So I appreciate the guys as always. Those are my brothers, and I will hold it down in the meantime. So, guys, I hope everybody's doing well out there. We have another great show today. I'm super excited for this show because we're going to be chopping it up with somebody that I enjoy talking to. The conversation is great. He knows his basketball, and I think it's going to also be very informative for you guys out there. Maybe, who knows? Maybe I asked the right question, the question you guys been thinking of, and Coach has the answer. So, without further ado, let me bring him to the stage. Let me welcome from the B-Ball Breakdown, one of the coaches that I go to when I'm looking for answers, Mr. Coach Nick himself. Let's bring him to the stage. Hey, what up, Coach?
How's it going? Thank you so much for having me back on. I really appreciate it.
Yes. It's fantastic. It's great to have you here. It's interesting because I was thinking
I can do that too.
Hey, look at you. All right. I was thinking the last time I didn't realize that you hadn't been on Still Knicks Fans with us before. The last time we had you on the show, we had you on the NBA report show on Nothing But Knicks. So this is pretty dope. It's a treat to have you here so we can talk a little bit more about the Knicks. So, yeah.
All right. My pleasure. Well, there's lots to talk about, I think.
Yeah, yes, there is. Yes, there is. As always. And guys, I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with B-Ball Breakdown and Coach Nick. But if you are not, I don't know what you're doing. Please go tune into Coach Nick on YouTube and subscribe to his channel. Listen. If you have a problem sometimes understanding why certain things are happening on the basketball court, maybe it looks a little funny to you. Why did they do this? Wonder what they would think. Coach Nick is the guy to watch, and he will break down a lot of things for you that you may not have been thinking of. So I'll say sometimes I've watched basketball for about 20 something, maybe 30 years. I still learn something new every day. And Coach Nick is one of those that can help you get there. So please support his channel and support him on social media as well. So that being said, I am super excited for this season. And it starts tomorrow, man. And I just it's happened so quick. There's so many different expectations and different things as Knicks fans that's been running through my mind as well as everybody else's mind. But I got to tell you, I have to start before we even get into the season, what it looks like, some of the things they need to work on. What's your thoughts? Because you've been very vocal in the past about the Knicks, type of offense and defense they run and the player personnel. How do you feel about them making this move to trade Julius and Dante and bring in Karl Anthony Towns?
It's funny. I've been saying for 4 years probably that they should trade Julius Randle. I thought when they were, whatever year that was probably 4 years ago when they were very much a 500 team. And then I think sometime like in February, they went on a big run. They won like 12 to 14, and they got into the playoffs, and then they lost in the first round, and Randall shot a lot of those really contested twos, and it didn't look good at that point. I thought that was the highest value he was going to have, and even then it just felt like he just doesn't quite fit in with like what they're trying to do. And yet they waited for a long, long time, years later, to finally do the trade. That said, losing Hartenstein was so devastating in my mind because he is what unlocked so much of what was fun with them last year in the playoffs. All the high post action, his ability to pass and create off the dribble, and do those things that like they had, no other centers could do. So him leaving left a big void. And I think what I've said in the last several shows on my channel was, if you have a chance to get Karl-Anthony Towns and shore up your center position, you kind of have to do it no matter what. And the vibes got bad because DiVincenzo had to leave, and I had done a video on how Bridges was going to fit in with all the other Villanova guys. That was very exciting to me. And but that said, if you had a chance to do it and you had to give up and also get rid of trade Randall in the same deal, then that's you got to do it. It's a no-brainer. So I was happy about that. I thought that was a really good decision for them to do that. But we've got a little data, and now there's some analysis we can do about how it actually looks in the court.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, so I'm definitely with you on that. I was one of those that I was a little saddened by it because I feel like, for whatever reason, when it comes to Julius Randle, timing just hasn't worked on his side. And I feel like, he really had a chance this year to dispel the narrative of not being a playoff performer. I feel like he's gotten a little bit of a bad rap because the injury bug has hit him the last couple of seasons. And it's not like he's, one of those people that gets hurt for any little thing. He actually plays through injuries, and these injuries are like fluke accidents, like things that you can't predict. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it hasn't benefited him. And then plus being in a contract year and being set to make a lot of, big money, it didn't bode well for him. But the Knicks did make the move to bring in Karl-Anthony Towns. He is somebody that hopefully can stretch the floor for them and make their offense more dynamic going forward once they get up to speed. So I'm with it. I'm all about the Knicks and not about the players. It's the players fit the team, but the team is what matters. So we're here. Yeah. So I think that, one of the things that I have been looking at is what Tibbs would feel comfortable with the rotation. And I'm just wondering, like, we've heard different things that have come out. I had Alan Hahn on the show a month or so back, and he mentioned something that I thought was surprising. I mean, because we as Knicks fans, we're always like, oh, why doesn't he play 10-man, or, can he mix it up a little bit and get somebody else involved? And of course, we understand that maybe he didn't feel comfortable with the personnel, but then we find out that actually Tibbs was considering playing 10 men last year, but didn't feel that comfortable with who he had. This year, I feel like the Knicks are in a better situation to explore that. I just wanted to ask you, do you see any way that a stubborn guy like Tibbs would consistently try a 10-man rotation?
I don't know. At this point, no. I mean, it just feels like we've had a lot of opportunities to evaluate how he wants to coach. And, I'm like his age, maybe a little bit older than me. And like, there's a certain sort of, it's not stubbornness. It's just that, this has worked for me. I'm not going to change. So I would just be surprised. I mean, and now with the injury to Precious Achiuwa, it's really going to be, tight pressed to figure out how to play, some other guys and give them minutes. So, right. Maybe because of that, and because Robinson's not going to be back for a while, he will have to, like, maybe by committee, sort of plug in those front court spots. And then as a result, you might get to 9. I don't think you're going to get to 10. And so that's the problem right now. And I'm actually excited, though, because a guy like Jericho Sims has had, in my mind, I have enough plays in my mind's eye right now. I can picture of him that's doing well, that I feel like this is a good chance for him. He could actually do some things out there that might actually convince them that he deserves, a regular rotation minutes.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
there was a play against the Nuggets where he had a guard. I was trying to figure out how you stop Jokic. And I looked at some of the worst output games he had. I think it was from last year, and the Knicks was one of them. And Jericho Sims was the guy that started, I think, in that game against him. And I was like, oh, he was physical. He was taking him out of spots. He was doing really well defensively. So there was something there that caught my eye. And so you never know. I mean, they don't have a choice. He's gonna start, I guess, right? Or he's gonna have to play some serious minutes. So that's going to be something they're going to have to figure out. But they also have a really big issue. It's rare to see a player like Josh Hart come out in the media and discuss his situation the way he is, being lost, right? And it's especially because it's so early. It seems like everyone have a much better perspective on this, and he doesn't have to come out publicly and do that, but he did. So that's what I'm probably more concerned about right now, is how Tibbs has been able to get the offense installed, and why it's not really looking good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a little bit of a concern, but we do know, I mean, it's preseason, it's early, and it seems like, I don't think the Knicks are reinventing the wheel, but it does feel like this offense is different from what we've been used to. Like there's certain things that they're implementing. And another thing that I find that's very interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know how much of the preseason games you've seen. It seems like he gave us a dose of something, and because people automatically assume that's going to be the identity, he hasn't really showcased it since. And that's the pick and roll between Jaylen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Like we saw it working pretty good, even if it was like a little needed to be a little cleaned up. It still looked like it can't be stopped. And he has not really gone to that a lot in these preseason games ever since he unveiled it. So I wonder if he's just kind of holding that back and keeping it to the side so people can't really, plan for it. But, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to install a 5-out offense, which is a departure from, Tibbs teams in the past, I could see where he'd say, you know what? Yeah, we know we can get that. That's easy to do at any time we want. So let's get our that spread. Let's get used to the movement and the screens off ball, all those different things. But the problem I'm having now is that in any given possession, you're going to see at least one, if not two players, like pointing to somebody else saying, you're supposed to be over there and you're supposed to be over there. It's very disorganized. And you don't really, none of the other good teams are having this problem in the preseason. So I don't know what's going on and why they look so indecisive and confused. And that's probably tapping into what Josh Hart is feeling. And, if he's going to start alongside in the backcourt alongside Brunson, there are times when you want to get Brunson off the ball. So that means Hart's going to have to bring it up. And he does not look that comfortable doing that either. I mean, he got ripped against Washington, and you could just see like he was trying to stay in place and dribble. And like, it's just not really his thing. He's a slasher and he can cutter. He's a cutter. He's not really that guy who's going to like sort of be a secondary ball handler for you in theory. So watch for that. If I don't know. And he might just sort of take it on the starting lineup because Hart sort of has asked for that, which is interesting. And then, the other thing with the pick and roll, or with certainly the way Towns is playing, a lot of times when you do a pick and pop or you screen and pop, those are open because you set it up with screen and roll, or you screen and you cut to the basket first a few times, get the defense thinking that's what you're going to do. But when you pop every time, it doesn't work as well, because that's what they're already there. They're ready for that. So I think he needs to vary some of that movement as well, to find better shots, because he is a big guy and he needs to get going to the basket, get some easier shots around the basket first and set that up. That will open up the 3-point shot.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's a very good point. I have a bunch more questions for you. Before I get to some of those, I just want to give a quick shout out to the chat. Thank you guys all for being here and tuning in. We are joined by Coach Nick of the B-Ball Breakdown. As you guys can see, I have pinned the link to Coach Nick's YouTube channel. So please, if you haven't already, listen, if you haven't listened to me for anything else, click on that link and go over to B-Ball Breakdown and subscribe immediately. You don't got to see a thing. Let me just tell you, you're in the right place. So please go show Coach Nick some love and subscribe to his channel. I wanted to give a quick shout out to everybody. First off, before I do that, this is a Knicks channel. We love the New York Knicks, but I would be remiss if I didn't tell you how much I love New York sports to begin with. Yes, my Giants stink right now. It's okay. I know you Jet fans are kind of sick as well. It's okay. It's going to be all right. But I just wanted to do a quick acknowledgement. Shout out to the New York Yankees for making the the finals, the championship round once again, getting to the World Series. Oh man, it's like as a Met fan, as much as it's New York, it just hurts, because oh man, it's tough. But shout out to the Yankees. Salute to them. They look. I gotta give them credit. They're always there for a reason. So shout out to them. It's going to be a tough battle against the Dodgers. It should be a fun series. But I also want to acknowledge my New York Mets, who started off this season really, in a tough sorts. Wasn't looking too good. Some people were like, they're going to have to blow up the team. It was going to be a fire sale at the deadline. And they go from that to finally believing in each other, acting like a team of one instead of a team of many. And this was the best I've seen them chemistry-wise since Steve Cohen has been the owner. And I was really happy for them. So salute to those New York Mets. And hopefully next year they'll get the right pieces together and we can get the job done. Salute to them. But that being said, last but definitely not least, if you want to talk about getting it done, shout out to the New York Liberty, man. Shout out to the New York Liberty, the WNBA champions. A long time, waiting for this, and it's unbelievable to watch it finally happen. So salute to the WNBA champions. I don't care what they say. It happened. It's done. The Liberty are the champions. Let's go, ladies.
Stewie did travel.
Yeah, she did. She did travel. It's true.
Travel. But that was a tough one. And I was on Twitter all last night and this morning trying to help people break it down and understand why, how referees are human. And that was a tough one, especially because really quickly, she bobbled the catch and nobody saw that. And so like the argument they were trying to have with me was not even on the level footing until I'm like, no, I think you missed that part. And you're watching from the normal angle. But when you go to the baseline, you see she did not have control of the ball for at least a couple of those steps, but she still ended up walking. But you got to understand that's why a referee, needs to be certain. They don't want to screw that one up in that moment. And they kind of probably just weren't completely 100% sure of whether the extra step was in there. So they didn't call it. But then we got the other part of the call, which was the foul that they didn't overturn, which I think was, certainly enraging to the Lynx fans. But hey, let's have the Liberty gets their first one. They deserve one. Lynx have 4 already.
Yeah, come on, man. Let's spread some of that love, man. So once again, shout out to everybody. Real quick, Slim Slammer's in the building. Walter Blackman, Crimes Dad, 713 Gamer, Deron Wayne, L Dammit, Nick P, Dripmore. Endgame is here. Endgame is very familiar with Coach Nick. Yeah, Coach Nick is here. Yes.
All right.
Wacko in Brooklyn is here. Keith Watkins, Nick P, Phil Porter. What up, Phil? Wiz, BKLA. What up, Wiz? Jay Turns, Ridge is here. Randu's in the building. Knicks will be 2025-26 champs. You were so right, brother. I like that. Old Head is here, and Chef NYK is in the building. Thank you guys for being here. So, back to the Q&A. Coach Nick, you already kind of hit on it, and I think that a lot of Knicks fans have been concerned about how wonky the offenses looked. They started off actually, and still not shooting well. They actually really haven't shot well from the perimeter the whole preseason. There's been guys that have, had some moments, but as a team collectively, it has not looked great. Do you think that this is just merely something that has to do with them implementing different sets, or is it just the chemistry of new players in the starting lineup just not knowing how, not gelling?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, this is probably the opportunity to talk about Mikal Bridges. And
yes,
happened to his form. I have a big video I'm preparing. I think it should be done by tomorrow. So stay tuned for that, because I'm going to go through him and then Jason Tatum and a couple other players, because it's rare when a player, changes their form. Now, just generally, again, preseason minutes are going to be different and strange to them probably for a little bit. So the rhythm, I can get it. They might not be shooting as well as you'd think they'd shoot. That said, a lot of times you do see good shooting in the preseason because the guys are coming out of months of just working on their shooting, and they're like really in tune, not beat up yet, all that stuff. But this is the time. Let's talk. So Mikal Bridges, throughout his career, has been an above average 3-point percentage shooter, with one season in the bubble where he was 42%, which is elite. And I get it. There's no fans. And so there was something different there mentally that people could, take advantage of. But still, the form and the rhythm that you see from Bridges in that 2021 season is good. It's a one motion shot. The ball doesn't stop on the way up and then out into the shot, and the ball stays in front of his face the whole time. And what he's been talked about, you see here, there's a quote, an audio quote of his saying he's been trying to work on a hitch or fix his shot ever since he got to the league. But I just think it's ill-advised because it was working fine. And what he's been doing is getting it higher and higher and higher of a set point before the release. And now the ball is completely behind his head. The whole ball is like behind his face, and he has to hang in the air, which is going to be a really almost impossible to become consistent that way. And then he has to sort of jump as high as he can and then fling the ball at the basket. So this culminated in an 0 for 10 against the Wizards before that. And then I think it's 2 for 19 for the whole preseason. So you probably take him out, and maybe I would imagine the shooting's even better as a team. But this is sad. And if somebody helped him to get this point, then we're really in trouble. And if he did it on his own, that's also, ill-advised. He shouldn't be doing that. He does. There are people out there, who could help him. I actually work with the pros on their shot. So, if he could study what he did in 2021 at least and understand where the ball is moving on the way up, he'll get back to where he was. And it's sad because, once it gets into your head, shooting is, I would say, 75, 80% mental at this point. And it gets in his head and he doesn't feel it. He can't find that again. This could last for a long time, and the Knicks are really going to struggle for that.
Yeah, that's definitely not good to hear. I wonder, is there a possibility that because the season is just starting now, there was a difference in his shooting last year. Over the past few years, his shooting took a dip this past year. So I don't know if he was. I don't think his shot was this. It didn't look like this last year to me. Maybe it was leaning towards this. He was still working on it, but it looked a little better, a little cleaner. Not as good as like you mentioned in previous years, but it still looked a little cleaner than it looks now. Because
it was 37.2%, which is a little bit above
right.
7 attempts. I think that's a career high per game. So that's nothing to like, oh my God, I got to retool this whole thing, right? That's what's so
exactly.
But even if you wanted to, okay, great, because it did look a little funky. He's got really long arms, and so I get it. But the solution is not to raise the ball higher and higher and get it farther back behind your head. And give him credit. I think I'd seen some footage of something earlier, like a month ago, where there was even like a hitch going on, and there was something crazy going on above his head. And now that's not quite there, but it's like still just pausing above his head for way too long, almost on the way down the many times he releases it. So, it's really concerning. It didn't have to be this way.
So my question to you is, because the season hasn't really started yet, it starts tomorrow. And like I said, I didn't think his shot didn't look like this last year. So most likely the new stuff that he's implemented happened this summer.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that maybe he can still get it figured out at some point throughout the season?
Yeah, it's a chance. It's probably not going to be the easiest thing to do in the middle of the season, but if he ends up starting out shooting 20% or whatever, then when he might as well, at that point. That was always my argument. It's like you can't do it in the middle of the season, but if you're struggling so mightily, then what's the difference at this point? You're not going to really shoot worse. So he should try and find. And again, it's not even from last season. He needs to go back to what he was doing in the bubble, because that was his moment. And I looked up a text because I had seen him in practice in summer league in his rookie year, and I had texted one of the assistants because I had seen like a hitch going on in that era. And then it was funny. I went back and looked at the summer league footage, and I didn't see it there. So he pretty quickly was able to adjust to that little what was going on that I had seen in that text back then. So yeah, I mean, these are world-class athletes who adjustments are not hard, right? They should be able to pick things up pretty quickly. So yeah, I don't think it would be that hard. He just needs the right, guidance a little bit, and then be able to listen to his own body as well. So it's possible, because you'd expect him, he's going to shoot 7 a game, and that's probably going to be second or third most on the team, I would imagine, in terms of attempts per game, right? I mean, who's going to take more?
Right. Yeah,
like maybe Deuce McBride if he gets enough minutes, but like who else is taking? Brunson doesn't take more than 5, right, or 6 or so tops.
And yeah, unless he's like on fire. Yeah, if he's hot, he might, but he doesn't usually do that.
Hart won't, and OG probably won't get up to 6 or 7. So this is a thing that they got to try and get solved pretty quickly.
Right. You know, I remember it was a couple years ago, and this is apparently what was said. I don't know if it's true or not, but I remember RJ Barrett was struggling with his shot going into the playoffs. And this is when the Knicks had the nice showing against Cleveland, and then they went into Miami and, made it a series but lost. Uh, Apparently Drew Hanlon had said, like right in between the time before the playoffs started, he took about 2 or 3 weeks with RJ, and he saw something in his shot that they were able to tinker with. And RJ shot better in the playoffs during that time. So I'm hoping that the fix could happen within like 3 weeks to a month's time. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember I talked to Drew about that. I'm trying to remember exactly what they did, but yeah, it's there are ways in the margins you can change things, but it's also about like how you communicate it too. If you want to try and do the old school, the way we used to teach shooting, that's where you start to see these issues. Because when I was growing up, we used to talk about that, where you want like a higher set point, get the ball over your eyebrow ridge, whatever, and then finally like guys like Steph comes in and they're shooting the ball much lower, and actually it's a faster release that way, and you get better rhythm. So we realized we can go away from a lot of those old, fake fundamentals that we used to try and torture players with. And get better with that, because they're going to need it. I kind of feel like, if I quickly check, I was going to show, actually, I have a side-by-side comparison. I was going to share my screen, but now I can't see I don't see quickly the Bridges comparison. I'll look for it. But I kind of curious last year. I don't think that the Knicks were that high in terms of three-point frequency in last year. Like, let's say the regular season. Let's try that. 23-24 regular season. I'm just kind of curious. Three-point frequency, the Knicks were ranked kind of middle of the pack. Right. So, and remember, it's a huge advantage, right? I think that the stat was that teams that scored 4 or more threes than their opponent in a game won. I don't know if it was 90%. I can't remember. It was an ungodly amount of wins, because you get at least a 12-point advantage from the 3-point line. So you really can't afford to be outshot. And as we all know now, there are times when the other team is so on fire that the only way to combat that is to hit your own threes, because you just can't get there. You can't get a hand up. You can't block it, whatever it is. They go on that run. So you got to keep up. And if you're one of those teams that like doesn't shoot a lot of threes, then in this modern era, you're going to be in trouble.
Right. Yeah. Whew. Man, this is interesting. I'm really hoping for the best with Mikal, and I hope, because the last thing, and really, with New York media and the fan base, the last thing we need is for the Knicks to wind up, because a lot of people already have misconceived notions about Mikal's value to the Knicks and why he's here. Like, I personally look at him as a defensive specialist that not only helps us be even more potent on defense, but he also is a great spell for someone like OG Anunoby. You do the one-off trade-off. Like, if OG goes to the bench, Mikal could be in there, and vice versa. They can obviously be in there together. And if by chance at some point, because we know it happens every year, OG goes down and can't play, you got somebody in Mikal who can really step right into that role, and you don't really lose. Hopefully you don't miss a beat. But a lot of Knicks fans, because of the conversations we've been having, are looking at Mikal as more of an offensive weapon. Don't get me wrong, we need his firepower as well, but I don't know if they're looking at him in the way that I look at him. I don't look at him as that first, second option. I don't even know if he's a third option. He can be, he has the skills to be, but I just don't view him that way. I view him as a complementary piece that if he gets the wide open shot, he can knock it down, or as a slasher, get to the basket and give us some points that way.
I mean, I think he's in a great spot that way, because he is the third spot at, the highest, with behind Brunson and Cat. So that actually is a good role for him. So they, perhaps the offensive stuff is just going to slowly get straightened out, where they're not going to have so much indecision in their sets, and they'll get into them faster and more smoothly. And then that will sort of release open up some more stuff. But again, if he's going to keep shooting that way over his head, I just don't see him getting consistent that way. Now, on the other side, I can totally get why they wanted to start Hart, because if you got a team with Hart, Bridges, and OG on defense, that's a really good wing, perimeter defending team. And you kind of need it because what you saw even in the preseason is they're going to try and attack Cat. And that's going to be a big problem. Towns might struggle with foul trouble, which he's always struggled with anyway. And there just seems to be, obviously when you're playing 5 out in modern basketball, you're trying to create advantages. And once you get a small advantage, you're trying to make that into a bigger advantage. And you know what? That's why we see no more triple threat. Everyone just attacks on the catch right now. So as soon as you get a little bit of an advantage and you kick, and then they kick and they drive, and next thing you know, everyone is completely scrambling. So to have Harden in there and to have Bridges and to have OG is really helpful because when they scramble, they are good at that. But it looks to me like there's a constant availability of getting that advantage to begin with by doing some action with Cat involved, and then probably with Brunson too, who's just smaller. He's not like a terrible defender. He's just small, and it gets difficult for him sometimes to get in that mode where he can try and keep people away, outside the lane. So that's another thing that might drive Tibbs crazy, right? Because he's that's his whole thing. No middle defense, doesn't want guys to get in the lane. And I worry, that Cat is a guy who is going to struggle with playing that way. Now, we also remember that Towns and Tibbs Towns played for Tibbs in Minnesota. And for that same reason, the relationship wasn't great because Tibbs probably was, on him all the time about the defensive stuff. And it's not going to change. And so it's like you can just keep beating your head against the wall as Tibbs by yelling and being angry and whatever. Or you can maybe figure out some other solution that will get to him, get through to him, and he can figure out how to be a little bit more effective. So that's going to be a problem. And that's why I'm thinking when Robinson comes back, you'll probably see him start alongside Towns. And then that whole thing changes because now you got a guy who doesn't shoot the ball and doesn't really play offense. And that's going to change everything. So they're getting geared up for 5 out, which is great. But I have a feeling that by middle of the year, they're not going to be running it as much.
Right. Interesting.
Well, I don't want to be doom and gloom because remember, I was so excited when they got Bridges and they had the Villanova guys. Like this was really going to be something great. And I still think that they're going to compete for the top of the East. But there definitely feels like from what we've seen so far in the preseason, they're a notch below the Celtics at least, right? And but again, they're lucky in a way that Paul George just went down, so now the Philly might not be as at least for the time being as powerful as they were going to be. And then everyone slept on the Bucks, and I don't know, maybe they should be sleeping on the Bucks. So there's no opening there, but I'm just worried. There's a lot of work to still be done, and at least there's a lot of time.
Right, and the other thing that I was thinking about it the other day. Because the Knicks do have these young players like Pacom Dadier, who's, now is surprised that he actually got some playing time in the past 2 preseason games, but he looked good, looked a lot more confident, better with his shot. And, obviously, campaigns coming off the bench, but getting to see Tyler Kolek and what he might be able to add to the team. But one of the things that I find very interesting, and this is something since Tom Thibodeau has been here that we've never seen, is, there was one preseason game where Tom Thibodeau did not play the starters at all, which was mind-boggling to me, which I thought it was great. I kind of also feel like this preseason hasn't really been the best for these starters to gel, for them to try to get comfortable with each other, for Josh Hart to feel not so lost, because they really haven't played as much together. They missed a whole game, and then the first couple of preseason games, as usual, they played the first half, and then the bench played. So I don't think they've had enough time to really gel, and I don't even think they've really have found the best way to even utilize Josh Hart in that starting lineup. So I get that's why he feels like he's lost, because he doesn't look great out there. So I'm just wondering, how do you feel about that? And also, if they're going to replace Josh Hart in the starting lineup, who could fill the roles? You also got guys that are like, we had Landry Shamet on the team. He's now gone. And then Precious Achiuwa, who was playing well, he's hurt. So,
yeah. I mean, McBride would have to be the other guy you choose at least to start right now. And he played well enough to think that, that would work and that could help solve some issues maybe. Especially when a guy gets in his head like that. But the Precious Achiuwa thing, there are moments you can get like pretty good minutes out of him, but then he'll also do the most confounding mistakes you ever imagine, throwing the ball in the backcourt or whatever. Like, it's just weird stuff. It's like, whoa. And so the challenge for Tibbs is to figure out just exactly how many minutes they can play to get the good stuff, but then make sure that he's not out there long enough to then do some of the things that are not as good. And I don't know if that's going to be better. This is Precious' chance to show me that he's grown and that his IQ has grown, and he'll be better at limiting those mistakes. Because they're going to be a good team. They can't afford to have that out there. And that's what Tibbs would be thinking as well. And that's exactly why Achua hasn't gotten more minutes, is because I don't think, Tibbs can trust him enough in anything more than what they've given him. But they're going to need something like that from off the bench for sure, because again, they're already pretty thin. Landry Shamet was going to be a great story. I think, he's good. And, in a certain situation, he could be that marksman off the bench that shoots a really high percentage from three. He's a little bit, he can hustle on defense and do the things they want him to do. So him going down with the shoulder and then they cut him is just, that was brutal for him. I really hope he can come back and find a spot somewhere. But now who are they down to? Kolek, I was going to tell you like last week, I'm like, yeah, Kolek's not going to play. I know he looked nice. He looks nice. He's got some ability, but it was like, there's no way he's going to get more than 5, 10, 8 minutes a game, I don't think. But now, right, is he the guy who's going to get some run?
He may be, but the other thing is that the size that Pacom Dadie has, and the fact that he is an adequate defender who can shoot the ball from anywhere on the court, he might be getting a second look from Tom Thibodeau. Even though in the 2 preseason games that he played, you could see there was obviously some defensive lapses, him not necessarily knowing where to be and watching things happen. And I saw Tibbs, call immediate timeouts and like try to get everybody back on page because he wasn't happy. But the thing about Dadier is, from everything we've seen with him, he plays defense. And even in the summer league, when his shot wasn't going, he was playing really good defense. So he might have a really interesting shot to fill the gap and get some good minutes while Precious is out. And now that they've lost Landry Shamet, because the point is you lost, a versatile guy in Precious who can rebound and give you a little scoring, as well as some, decent defense, depending on who he's playing. And then you lost Shamet, who gives you some scoring. So they're in an interesting spot. Kolek is an interesting person that they could use as well, but everybody knows the knock on Kolek is the defense. So I don't know. Yeah,
and I think they probably maybe need to make a trade. They got to figure out something else here to bring somebody in. Or they just try and put their finger in the dike until Robinson comes back at least, and that's something. And then that makes them deeper on the bench, and then it gets deeper. So they got to figure that out. But yeah, Dadier can come in and do something that would be a wonderful revelation. I don't think anybody had planned on, and they're gonna need something. So we'll see. I don't know, but it's a little bit rough. I guess I like to see what happens tomorrow. I mean, of course, they got to open up against the Celtics of all teams, right?
Right.
The Celtics look like they're ready to, you know how that works. A lot of times a team breaks through, they win a title, and the next year they win like 70 games, and they're just like awesome. So that they kind of feel like that's going to happen. They got everybody back. Everyone's healthy, so it's like I don't know. You got to put the Celtics are going to be really tough to beat no matter what. So maybe we kind of put that game aside and look what they do in the next 3 or 4 games. But I'm a little bit worried. I went from being really high to like being worried about this, and I feel like they're going to probably have to make a move, I would imagine, to kind of shore some things up. Right.
And that worries me more, because I'm like, the team was set. I mean, it was basically, a team that a lot of people felt comfortable with, and then you make the change. Okay, all right, you made the change. I could see the vision. All right, but now with the injuries and then the unsureness of just how the starting lineup is playing together so far, and that time to gel, like sometimes that can be the kiss of death. You start off too slow in an NBA season, you could really put you behind, and if with other teams continuing to play well or other teams getting better, it can make for a long season. So I just hope that the Knicks don't run into that type of issue where they get too far behind. I think they'll come out tomorrow and play well. I just don't know if me saying they'll play well doesn't mean they'll beat the Celtics. I just think that they'll give their effort, but the Celtics are still like, they got all the guys. Even with Porzingis not being there, like, oh, well, they weren't playing great without Porzingis to begin with. So,
Right. Wait, I missed something. Why? What's wrong with Porzingis right now?
He's out until maybe December or so,
Oh,
possibly
okay.
longer. Who knows?
Wait, you know why?
I think it was what's I forgot his. I thought it was the foot, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I can look it up. It's funny. I just saw him, talking with Missoula. Like maybe it might have been an older clip. Then I was just like, yeah, I expected to return in December.
Yeah.
He went surgery. I totally, you know what? I guess I wasn't on Twitter. I missed this. But when was this report? June 27th. He went. Okay, so maybe it was in the middle of summer. I wasn't paying attention. So surgery to repair a torn tendon in his foot. Okay, so all right, that's not good. And by the way, the Celtics should be concerned about him being healthy because of his the way he moves. His biomechanics are not optimal either, and so he is probably going to be an injury, injury laden throughout his career. I just don't think. I think he needs to retrain his entire gait to improve that. I don't know if he can. So, which is good for the Knicks in some weird way, right?
Right. No, and I hear you. It's gonna be really interesting to see how it all plays out. I'm thinking another thing now because of this, the way this is all coming together. Do you think that Tibbs would be in the hot seat at all? I mean, there's pressure on him because now he's supposed to have the personnel to get the Knicks to the next level, but just with the way things are going, do you feel like there might be some heat on him at all?
Maybe. I mean, there was such goodwill after that playoff run until they all broke down that that wouldn't have seemed possible, in July. But you're right. I mean, it's New York, right? There's always going to be that kind of pressure anyway. I'm sure he understands that too. So I don't think he's doesn't lose his job this year. I don't think it's
right.
But it might be the beginning of some thoughts if they break down. And again, if he's going to do the thing where like he overplays people and then they get hurt, then at some point that's going to be a thing. And so I hope that he won't do that. I hope it would have killed him to smile a little bit during those games. I mean, they're going to have nice plays. It's like, encourage that a little bit. I feel like he thinks that he needs to stay on them all the time. But, as a coach from that era who understood that, but then also understands the value of playing in a positive frame of mind, like you get a lot of, you can get better stuff out of that. But it was even like, with the Indiana series, he kind of got out coached by Carlisle because Carlisle said they're going to play a small rotation. We're going to push the ball so fast that eventually all the minutes they're going to play, they're going to wear down. And at the very least, it's not Brunson was a freak thing, but OG, a hamstring injury, like that seems pretty clear to me that was rooted in like the fact that they were trying to push the pace so hard and OG was playing minutes. So he's got to be, hopefully he can adjust on that one. It hasn't happened, but maybe this is the year.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm still going to remain optimistic and positive. I do know that I always point. It's like a part of my blueprint. Whenever I'm talking about a team that's got new pieces, I always think of that Miami Heat team with Wade, LeBron, and Bosh. And that first month, they were below or teeter-tottering around 500 team. They didn't look great, but they turned it around. And correction. They didn't win the championship that year, but they won the following year. But they finished the year very strong.
Yeah, and remember, like Spoelstra, they wanted him fired. And they stuck with him, and that was important as well. So that could mirror what's going on here. I mean, this is a little bit different, obviously, but yeah, you're gonna have to see. Like, I'm hoping that that Cat just comes out and he's shooting really well. He's spreading the floor for them, and they're finding buckets that way. I really kind of hope that that's what happens. But they have this, the last several days since their last game to like be having practices and working on it. So, I would anticipate that it'll be a lot smoother heading into tomorrow night's game. But have we heard anything about Hart starting or not, or we don't know?
They haven't said anything as of yet, and I just I wouldn't be surprised just because Hart said it. I don't know if Tibbs is inclined to give him what he wants, but I do think it's something that, because I know it doesn't make sense because this is the wildest thing ever to think that Tibbs would do this, but I kind of do think it makes sense to try to give a guy like Pacome Dadier the starting nod. only because of the fact that you're getting another defender with length, 6'8". You know, a lot of the times when the Knicks struggled with teams in the past, it was these young teams that had height advantages at all positions, and they couldn't keep up with that. Now the Knicks are at a position where we may not be tall. Well, the addition of Cat helps. We may not be really tall at the center and forward spot, but you know, guards and small forward, we definitely have some good height. So, and the thing about Pacome, he goes out there, he's going to be sandwiched between these other guys who are very vocal, telling him what to do, where to be. He can play the defensive role. He can get open shots if necessary and knock it down. And you don't have to worry about him complaining or taking away from the other guys on the court. Now, the problem that I find that's something they have to worry about is the fact that you got a guy like Karl Anthony Towns on offense who's going to be shooting from the perimeter. Therefore, he's not down low getting rebounds. Mikal Bridges not the best rebounder. OG Anunoby's become better, but he's not really a good rebounder. So you're at a disadvantage there.
Yeah, I mean, my first instinct was to say, like, no way are they going to do that and let him play like that, right so early in the season.
Right.
But, you never know. I mean, especially out of necessity, because guys like Precious are not available and they lost Shamit. Like, yeah, that maybe he'll actually get some of that. But to me, knowing what we know about Tibbs, he doesn't just let people who like that play without earning a lot of trust right ahead of time. But we'll see. I mean, Dadier is a revelation to me. I had to really go study his game to see what he's really about. Is he a secondary ball handler for them? I guess if he's starting or he gets that shot.
I mean, I don't know too much. But that's actually a good question. I don't know too much about his handle. He doesn't look like the type that doesn't know what to do with the basketball. But I don't know if he has the type of handle that you would want to have him in situations where he has to bring the ball up the court or as a secondary ball handler. That I don't know. That's a good question. I'm interested to look into that myself.
Yeah,
but I will say the other reason for it is because I'm just a little worried about Deuce, to be honest. Would Deuce fit the role perfectly? Yes. But I think we need Deuce's scoring off the bench. The fact that there's no more Dante DiVincenzo here on this Knicks team, I think is big. And I think, as much as I love Julius Randle, the one thing that the Knicks are going to realize they miss at certain times is going to be Dante's pinch it for making 3-point shots, as well as getting them a lot of easy baskets. Because I watched a video the other day of all of these backdoor cuts that him and Brunson had their little two-man game going with. These are easy baskets that the Knicks are getting points off of that they're going to have to recreate with somebody else. Not that it can't happen, but it's just that's what he did for the team, along with his grittiness, his toughness, and his defense. So, Yeah.
No, it's a big loss, and there's a nice balance there. But Hartenstein was also part of that, and so they had some chemistry that they, it's hard to find that, right? It's really hard to achieve that and get those players to play together like that. They had it, and I mean, the biggest mistake the Knicks probably made in the last several years, and they've done terrific things in the front office. Make no mistake, they've made hit on almost every decision they've made. But by signing Hartenstein to a 2-year deal and not a 3-year deal, they didn't have bird rights, and so he was going to go. And it wouldn't have been that much of a bigger deal of outlay of cash to give him the 3rd year, and they probably would have then kept him for this year. So that was a little short-sighted, unfortunately. And I could have told you, I mean, we'd seen Hartenstein over here in LA with the Clippers, and he was terrific. Like, I knew that the Tibbs would love him. So, that was the one thing that kind of all the dominoes started to fall from that point, because again, if they had him, maybe they don't maybe they keep Randle. But let's not forget, when Randle goes down in February of this year, they won an 18-2 run, something like that. They just
no, actually they went on the run with Randle.
But
Randle,
really?
No, Randle was there for 14-2, and then he got hurt. Yeah, so that's the thing. So that was one of my arguments for a lot of people, because I was saying, like, I understand that, because apparently even in this offseason, someone in the Knicks front office, I don't know who, didn't know if Randle would be a good fit with what they were doing, bringing in Mikal and the current unit. And I was like, okay, that's fair. But I just thought that if you just look at January, the record speaks for itself. Randle was there the whole month of January. They went 14-2. And then in February, he got hurt. He got hurt right at the beginning or right at the end of January. And they still kept winning, but, he was there with OG for a spell. So they were playing well.
Okay, yeah, wow, you're right. Yeah, and then the playoffs was also part of that run where they get to the second round against Indiana, which was without him, and they probably felt like that. And I know I get it. A lot of times you want someone who's like a closer, someone you can ISO with and like be tough,
Right.
tough bucket for you. And that's I don't know if that's exactly him either. We've seen him in the playoffs try to be that role, and it hasn't always worked out that well. I also feel like Randall had like a cloud over his head a lot of the time. It just was sort of like mad and just sort of discontent. And it looked to me like the Villanova guys had identified that and said, well, you know what, we're going to do our best to keep him in a positive frame of mind as much possible as we can. And they'd be like screwing around with him, like he's doing a post-game interview, and they'd be like jumping on his back or pouring water on him, like all that kind of fun stuff.
Right.
And that's great. I mean, by the way, what a fabulous teammates to have who like recognize that and say, we got to keep this guy up and positive because he will get into a funks. But it also is exhausting emotionally, right? To have to be that way and keep that guy like that way. Now, Cat, by the way, has his own stuff where he falls into funks as well. Right. But a little different. I think Cat ends up getting like sad, and Randall can kind of get mad.
Right.
You take the sad guy over the mad guy. Randall will get into it with teammates, man. Like you saw him a few times square up, right, and they get nose to nose with his own team sometimes. And that won't happen with Cat at least. So that'll have some sort of emotional equilibrium. But then I think Cat can also just kind of get into a different kind of funk, which perhaps they'll be also just as astute and try and keep him up, because Lord knows he'll play a lot better if he's not down on himself.
Right. Yeah, and I see the chat is very active. You guys are talking about Pacome and different things with him. But I do want to say one thing about Pacome Dadier once again, to reiterate. Pacome Dadier is a good defensive player. You could look at his history with his European teams. You could look at even our own summer league. You see that he played really good defense. The issue is, if you're just judging off of 2 preseason games, the sets that the Knicks were running, there was some points out there where he looked a little lost. He didn't know where to be. He even let guys go backdoor on him, which is not something I've seen from him since I've been watching him. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. So all of that is a learning curve. There's pressure. He's playing with the big boys. I think he'll be fine given more reps. But back to what we were talking about, I still don't know. I'm saying all of this is all wishful thinking. Honestly, if I was just going by what I've witnessed from Tom Thibodeau, Pacome Dadier doesn't play. Right. Tyler Kolek doesn't play. The Knicks wind up going 8 deep until they can get somebody back healthy. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and that means that Brunson's playing 38 minutes.
Yes.
And he's proven that he can handle that, but I don't know. We're always worried about guys should be wearing out and all that kind of stuff. So we shall see. But and you are really, really correct in the sense that you can't really afford to get out into not a great start. That you're behind the 8 ball so much, especially in the East, which is a lot better now than it has been. It's kind of nice. We actually have a sort of real parity now between East and West, I think. Right. So that's going to be a thing. Like, can you afford to start the season and win, go 8-12? Probably 8-12 might be something you can kind of come back from. But if it's worse than that, then you're in trouble. We should probably look really quickly if you want to at the
sure.
Just for fun here. So schedule for the Knicks. Are you ready? At the Celtics, and they have the Pacers, then they have the Cavaliers, then they have the Heat, then they get the Pistons. Okay, they get the Rockets. Those are on the road though, and then the Hawks. But then the Bucks come to town, and they got to play the Pacers, and then they play the Sixers, who might have Paul George by then, and then the Bulls. So that's not an easy first 10, 11 games. So they got to hope to come out of that maybe 5-5 if they can.
At this point, with the way things are going, that's a very realistic way of looking at it, because of the fact that there's change and the chemistry is still missing, and then the Mikal situation and the little injury bug that has happened. So I agree, because the funny thing is, prior to the trade, when I knew what the Knicks were, I had the Knicks going 8-2 in this first 10, even knowing that it's a tough schedule. But the Knicks already had that continuity. I felt like it could work. But now with what we've seen and knowing that it takes a little time, I'm a little bit more concerned. So I agree.
A lot easier, by the way. They got the Nets and the Wizards, the Bulls, the Jazz, Charlotte. So they have a lot of other games in that next 10 that they should be able to win, if the things are going okay. So yeah, again, it'll be an up and down season, I suspect, at least in the first half, where it's going to be a roller. So just put your seatbelt on and strap in and just hold on until they can get things settled.
Yeah, and really, real basketball fans know all the time, nothing really unveils itself until the first month of the season is over. Once the first month of the season is over, the pretenders go, pretend, and the contenders start to contend. Like, you start to see the separation between teams once that first month is over. So as long as they can kind of stay afloat, maybe a little bit above 500 at the worst. If they're better than we expect, great. But that'll be fine. I'll be happy with it.
Yeah, no, I would say, yeah, if they can go 10-10, that's probably that's a good target to get to in the beginning. And anything about that is gravy. Feel really good about it, and then they can go from there. So sure.
Yeah. So another thing with this particular Knicks team that's very important, as we already talked about the loss of Dante, and you cut Landry Shamet because of his injury. Deuce McBride plays a very important role with this team, not only because of his previous history of what he did and we saw in the playoffs versus teams like Philadelphia, and him just gaining that confidence, but we know he's a really good defender. And then he's starting to get confidence and gain more and more with his offensive game. Do you think that he is still, someone that the Knicks can count on to step up and be that type of offensive player consistently? Because this preseason, he looked okay at times, but he also still looked a little like not quite there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to continue to see sort of that, right? Like, he can hit the three. Right, he's athletic. He can make plays, and so I think it might take him half a season if he gets those really consistent minutes. And I feel like last year he did get that as well, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Didn't he get consistent minutes to start the season or not?
Yeah, I don't know if it was to start, but he definitely, as the season progressed, he definitely started to get much more consistency with minutes. Yeah.
If you look at it at the beginning of the year, and now I'm looking at the game logs, it's dotted with DNPs. In the beginning, the first 20 some games, even into the first half of the season. So. What I saw from him was a very promising, and he got a lot of minutes in the playoffs, and that's really should be important. That really should give him some confidence that he can play at that level and do well. So I do anticipate him becoming a regular rotation player and having moments where he actually might even stand out and have exciting games where the crowd is rallying behind him. He hits a big three to decide a game, that kind of thing. So yeah, his normal ascendancy in my mind would be, yes, he continues to grow and continues to get better at that. Nothing that I've seen so far has indicated that it was a mirage, and that he seems like he's a really hard worker who's going to continue to improve. So yeah, watch for that and him to take hold of that role and do better in it game by game.
Right. Two quick questions about personnel. Once again, are you concerned at all about Karl Anthony Towns and his shot? Because he has not been able to really lock in this preseason, but he still has been putting up around 20 points and like 10 rebounds or so. Are you concerned about his shot at all?
I'm kind of curious now that you said that. I'm looking at his preseason. He shot from the 3-point line. He shot. Do you know what it is?
I know it's bad, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
17.4%. But he took 23 attempts in however many games he played. Okay. There's too much data with his shot to indicate that he is a really good shooter. So you can't. It doesn't go away. It will come back. He'll find it. So I'm not that worried. It's probably more of a function of like the offense being a little bit disorganized. That once that will get fixed a little bit better. He will have some of those ball screens for Brunson and get kickouts for three. So I'm sure he'll get back to his normal above average 3-point shooting at the least. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Right. I didn't think you would be, because I agree with you. The data just speaks for itself. I mean, he's been consistently one of the best, not even just because he's a big man, just one of the best 3-point shooters in the league to begin with. So
I'm just
Yeah.
worried about his fouls when he's on defense. I'm worried about his relationship with Tibbs if he doesn't play defense well enough. Because Tibbs knows he's going to have to play him. You can't just take minutes away because you don't like how he's playing D. And with this team, there's just nowhere to not take minutes away from him. But that relationship is going to be important. I think that's going to really help Towns play better when if him and Tibbs are on the same wavelength. But we'll see if he can tap into some better motivational techniques than he did in Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah. And the only thing that I really worry about with this Tom Thibodeau, Karl Anthony Towns connection, because I do know that they've had a lot of success together, and I love to point to the fact that actually Karl Anthony Towns possibly had his best seasons under Tibbs with regards to points, rebounds, and his efficiency altogether.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that was a little different Karl Anthony Towns, and he's settled into more of this perimeter-based player.
Yeah.
So I would hate to see that it looks like it's not working the way they would like it to, and then he forces Karl Anthony Towns to go on the block, like get down low, So
yeah, check out the video I did when they did the trade for Cat, and I went through and I took footage from those years of Tibbs and Cat together in Minnesota, and I showed like how the distribution of his game went in different categories. And so the post up. He hadn't posted up and been as efficient since the Tibbs years. And there might be something there, though, in terms of, getting some more of those shots down there. And that could very well open up more shots from the perimeter as well. So there might be a better balance there versus just the constant, flaring out to the perimeter now. And they have some sets. They are working on that to get him some touches down low, but they might be better off finding that as well. To give the offense a little bit better organization too. So I mean, it's interesting to see when you trace the evolution of Cat's offensive game, and then when you look at when Tibbs was there, when he got a different coach, how that all radically changed. So I would anticipate that being better. And he had played probably as well as he had offensively under Tibbs. So hopefully they'll recapture that, and that'll have a big effect on the overall wins and losses.
Right. I agree with that. I just hope that Cat, he said he's saying all the right things, and I know he has the personality that this is who, he's a person that's willing. I just hope he will be willing to make certain changes in his game to benefit the team overall, because I do know that he has been used to a certain style of basketball with Minnesota for a few years. So sometimes that gets a little tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's also kind of a pleaser. He if you ask him to do something, he'll do it. I would hope. I would think so. Yeah, I don't think that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But again, there was, from what I've seen and heard, and who knows if maybe the reports aren't always right, but it got frayed, the relationship in Minnesota. But then there's been time. Right. I'm sure they had a chance, like while the trade was being negotiated, to like wrap their head around that and figure out how to get on a new page for that. So we'll see. But I'm not that worried. That's not my biggest worry right now for him. And nothing on the offensive end is going to be a worry for me and Cat. It's going to be the defensive side. And can he figure out how to be more effective than he's been? That's going to be a really big one.
Right. And from what I've heard, there was a time last year where the Knicks played Minnesota, and Karl Anthony Towns and Tom Thibodeau were able to have a really good discussion with each other. They seemed to be on the same page, and things seemed to be good. And there was even rumors that they went to dinner. I don't know if that's true or not, but so maybe that's they were in good sorts.
Yeah, great.
So another question that I had for you was about someone that was a starter, has turned into a role player, but has really showed to be a very, interesting basketball player to have on your team in the role of coming off the bench, and that's Cam Payne. Because it looks like just the way this whole team is shaking out, Cam Payne is going to be a lot more pivotal than I thought he would be. How do you feel about Cam Payne's game, and do you think that he's the type of guy who could be a sixth man for this Knicks team?
Yeah. He's kind of what a strange career he's had, right? I mean, like, he just sort of he's been there and back again, and then somehow resurrected himself. But because it's funny, we talk about Bridges' jump shot, and then in that there's that one clip of practice where you see how ugly it is, but then Cam Payne is shooting in the foreground, like out of focus, but it's like, whoa.
Right.
But he's figured out, by the way, speaking of bunky jump shots, like to kind of get that to go in too. And he has improved, and he's become a guy who can play that role really well. The primary ball handler off the bench. He can, hit a couple of threes. He can throw a bunch of dimes. I think you can trust him now. He's not going to be like turn the ball over left and right. And he can make some plays. So he is sort of a nice little complimentary piece that doesn't try and do too much. So yeah, he can be that guy. Like if you want to thrust him in the starting lineup and try and make that work, but that won't work. And he can't play alongside Brunson anyway. That would probably be a nightmare. But yeah, I think that he should do very nicely in that role. And there's a few of those guys kind of around the league that can kind of come in and just sort of give you really consistent minutes. And it took him a while to get there, right? He was wild in the very beginning of his career. Like he didn't know what was going to happen when he was out there. But, credit to him for working on his craft and going. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he had to go play outside the league for a while, right? At some point, I feel like he's playing in a different league. It might be on crazy. But
I don't know.
Okay, maybe not. But anyway, certainly out of people's minds for a while and not really having a chance. So yeah, I think he'll be fine. I think Tibbs will probably even like him to he'll, to some degree, because he'll just he can make the right play consistently. So I like that. I like that acquisition for them for sure.
Yeah. I think he's definitely surprising me. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew he was a solid player. I just didn't know that he would be somebody that the Knicks could lean on in this capacity. But so far the returns have been good, and I think they'll get better over time. So I mean, that's pretty much all I had to ask you about the players. And you guys, if you guys are listening out there, you notice I did not ask him about Jaylen Brunson. You know why that is, guys? Because I'm so comfortable with Jalen's game and who he is as a player. But you are definitely welcome to weigh in on how you feel about Jaylen Brunson, Coach Nick. Because he's fantastic to me.
Yeah. Now I did a video on him too, which I was really excited to do last year, where I showed that, I've been arguing for a while that maybe guards should post up a lot more, because any kind of face up on from a block for a guard, it's like a layup almost. And, let the bigs kind of spread the floor and come out a little higher. But he turns his drives into post ups, which is really exciting to me, which I think more guards should learn how to do. Best footwork in the post I've seen anybody in the league so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really solid basketball player. It's unbelievable to see him be so fundamentally sound at the guard position, and even at a diminished height in the paint at that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. He's tough and he's funny. He's probably one of the best teammates you're going to have, like all those things rolled into one. So they knew what they were doing when they signed him from Dallas, but I don't think nobody had thought he'd become a arguably like an MVP candidate, which is kind of like he'll be in that conversation. I think he was in the top 5 in voting, right, last year.
I think he was 5th. I think
5th, yeah. So I mean, that's heady stuff, right? And I don't see why he wouldn't continue to do that. Now, obviously, the cat thing is going to be interesting to see if they can get that balance better. But they should both be able to make each other better. And so I'm excited to at least see that part and see them drive that team early in the season. And then, gosh, they have to get Robinson back. Unfortunately, it's not going to be too quickly. They have to get, even Precious back. And they might even make a deal. They might try and shore something up there with a deal. We'll see. Yeah.
We got to see. It's going to be an exciting season, Knicks fans. So we got to see what it turns out to be. I don't know how you are with regards to predictions or records, but I will ask you this. Obviously last year the Knicks were able to get that second seed. They were able to win 50 games. Do you think this is a team that might be able to push for a second seed again and get at least 50 wins?
Well, let's see here. Let me go back to last year. Let me look at the standings. Of course, now where did it go? Hang on. So if we go back to last year regular season, 50 wins got them second place, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It might be a little bit heady. They might end up being third. I don't know. It's tough. I just feel like they might have a tough start. They might struggle until they get completely healthy, and then end up having a really good spring. March and April into the playoffs. So I would put them in the top 4 easily, but I don't know if they get to 2. I would think that 3 or it feels much better to me. 3, 4, but maybe 3.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and I guess I'm going to agree with you in the terms of I I just got to see it all look the way they intended to look before I can say that they can make it higher than I think. I think they could probably win, even with all the uncertainty of knowing what this team is going to be. I think they could probably win somewhere in between 50 and 55 games because I think they got enough star power, and defense is going to win them some games that they probably shouldn't win at times. But the seeding is going to be tough. Milwaukee had some issues last year. Milwaukee may not have those same issues. Philadelphia is going to be a better team than they were, even with Paul George dealing with injury right now. And I still think the Celtics are going to be the number 1 seed because they're good on both sides of the ball. So I mean, we'll see, but none of that matters, Knicks fans. Just saying, because I know some people might like, well, but what are you saying, Ron? All you got to do is get to the playoffs, and then the season starts again. You got another chance to make some noise.
Right. Well, I mean, don't sleep on a team even like the Pacers, right? The Pacers are back again. They got Mathurin back, who looks good. So it's like that was the thing they kind of needed and were missing. So there's teams like that might, like, you kind of maybe forgot on, but they won 47 games last year.
It's true. It's true.
They might win, a few more too. So it's going to be really interesting to see how all this shakes out. And then injuries are going to be a big part of this as well. Unfortunately, I suspect someone's going to have something as be a problem. So, it's rough, but it's great. I'm really happy to see that the East has gotten to be the point where they're as good as the West. Remember, for so long the West was much better, and now we got real parity. It feels like. So I'm looking forward to that. And the Knicks are, they'll be part of it. They have the advantage. Tibbs is a really good coach who gives them an advantage a lot of the time when they're going up against any other team. So we shall see. But just be patient, be kind to yourself, Knicks fans, and let's see how that plays out the first 20 games.
Right. No, I agree with you. And don't mind me if I'm one of those people that it's hard to give credit to the Indiana Pacers. I just can't stand them.
As I hear you, as a coach, it was really, to watch them run 5 out and that ball was just slinging across the court so fast. That was really exciting to me. But
beautiful thing to watch. I agree. And they were the best offensive team in the league for a reason. So I got to give them credit for that. I just, when I watch the team, I just understand that the things that they were successful at, especially when it came to playing the Knicks, I just think the injuries played a big part on our end, because even with OG Anunoby, those first 2 games, the Knicks pretty much won those comfortably, not by big margins, but I never thought they were in danger of losing. And they won those 2 games, and then he gets hurt in the 3rd game, and the series changes drastically. So, yeah,
that was rough. It was rough, but that was sort of like the game plan, or that was the whole thing. Like with Carlisle, was he kind of figured they were going to outlast them if they could keep going, keep that pace going.
Right, and he was right.
What happened? So, hopefully they can adjust from that and learn from that, and not let that happen again.
100% agree. Well, I want to thank you so much once again for being here, Coach Nick. It's been a pleasure. I'm so shocked that it took this long. The last time we had Coach Nick on was a different show, different platform. Shout out to Nothing But Knicks, and you should see us doing something on there very soon. But it's been too long, man. So I'm glad to have you back, and I hope to have you back a lot sooner now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Or to find me anytime you want to come on, I would love to be there.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so what's next for Coach Nick? What should we tune in for next?
All right. So I think tomorrow I'm going to drop this video about the shooting in Mikal Bridges. You're going to want to watch that because we do a lot of side-by-side comparisons. It's really cool. And so that'll be the next one. And then, we'll see. If the game is epic tomorrow night, then, Wednesday morning, I'll have a breakdown of that game between the Celtics and the Knicks. And then, this week, we'll just sort of be doing some game breakdowns until we develop some more data to figure out some other trends. But, that's what I do. I'll break it down with X's and O's and the circles and the arrows and all that stuff and try and explain what's happening. And, the beauty of that, what I like to do is it's, that my tagline is it's not a channel, it's a conversation. And so that's the beauty of this. We have a conversation over there. The comments are always really germane to the games that we're talking about, and I love the back and forth. So I'd love if anybody want to come over there and check it out. That'd be awesome. And again, I would love to. Anytime you want me on the show, I am there for you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, Coach Nick. It's always a pleasure once again, guys. It's pinned to the chat. please go, right now. If you, it's okay, you can go and come back. Well, you better come back. Please go subscribe to Coach Nick, B-Ball Breakdown. Believe me, you won't be disappointed. I will never steer you guys wrong. And if you ever listened to me before, listen to me now. Coach Nick, B-Ball Breakdown, you're going to love it. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you being here. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you next time.
You got it. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care. All right, guys. So listen, I want to thank everybody for being here and rocking with me. This has been another fantastic show. I'm happy that we were able to chop it up with Coach Nick. And I hope that, he helped answer some questions that maybe you guys had out there in reference to the Knicks and what this team looks like going forward. It's not all doom and gloom, but he is going to come, with a very, straight and narrow. This is what it looks like. This is what you can expect. So you have proper expectations. But that does not mean that we won't be able to see this Knick team shock the world and have a great season and win an NBA championship. It just means that the road is a little bit more difficult. There's some pebbles and stuff blocking our path, man, but we're going to get through it. It's just going to take a little time. Definitely some time for these guys to gel. And hopefully we can avoid the injury bug, man, because it's already showed us it bites. So it bites. So once again, we talked about it on Saturday. Unfortunately, Landry Shamet with that shoulder dislocation, the Knicks decided to cut him. And they've moved on. They've also cut Chumo Okiki. And they have, decided to move in a different direction. There was somebody else they cut too. It's a third person. Why am I forgetting that? I remember it. And now it's like, hold on, let me check, guys. Knicks cuts. Oh, wait, this is probably going to give me some like pizzeria or something, right? Okay, here we go. Oh, yes, TJ Warren. That's it. Thank you, Crimes Dad. Appreciate you. So yeah, they made some cuts, they made some changes, but we got to move forward. I still think the Knicks have enough to kind of weather the storm and sustain themselves. But Coach Nick may not be wrong in the fact that they might have to make a trade, guys. Lonnie, what the hell's his last name again? Why do I always forget Lonnie's last name? You guys know who I'm talking about. The Celtics just cut him. Lonnie, whatever the hell his name. Lonnie Shepherd from Above the Rim. The guy's name is not Lonnie, but I mean, I just think that's funny. Lonnie Walker, thank you, the Sporting Page. Appreciate you, man. My memory be trash sometimes. Sometimes I tell you, it's so funny to me. I can forget certain things, and I can remember the most obscure thing from like when I was 6 years old. I need the ginkgo biloba. So ginkgo biloba, if you want to sponsor the show, yes, by all means, come on over. Not only will I plug your items, I'll take them because I need them. But yeah, man, I just want to say thank you to all you guys for tuning in. Please smash that like button. I think we got like 40 likes, and please smash that like button if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the show if you haven't subscribed. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here and rocking. Oh, what's this? I think we got something going on here, man. We got us a super chat here, folks. Shout out to 713 Game of Fliggity. What up? A member of the SKF Army. Thank you for the generous super chat. He said, peace out, one yourself. I appreciate you. Thank you. He knows the slogan. Oh, we also got another super chat from L. Dammit in the building, another member of the SKF Army. Appreciate you, L. Salute to you. She said, hashtag bring back Dante, please, and thank you. Yes, Dante will be missed, but we got to do it without him, man. The show must go on. It's going to be okay. We're going to be all right. Shout out to all y'all, man. And to Wiz. Wiz always got something interesting to say. He said, great interview, Ron. Your interviewing skills are inversely proportional to your dancing skills. If only you can remember how to dance. Thank you, Wiz. I appreciate you. I say the same thing whenever I hear you, sing anything. I'm like, if only he can remember how to sing. Okay, appreciate you, man. But once again, guys, and let me say this again because some people ask me, and I want to let you know. Let me see if I can share my screen. Hold on. Let me change this so you can see it because I'm gonna have to switch. All right, here we go. Because I've been asked this multiple times, especially recently. I got asked this just as of yesterday. Uh, if you want to know how to be a member and join the SKF Army, here it is. Let me add this to the boom. Right there, guys. As you can see, um, you have to do this from a laptop or a PC. You can't do it from a mobile device, not even a tablet. I mean, you could kind of work your way around it if you know how to use, your device. If you go to, um, if you go to So, okay, I don't want to get confused, you guys, right? But technically, what you would have to do is go to your YouTube app on your mobile device or tablet and sign out of YouTube, right? So sign out of YouTube, right? And then go to like your internet browser, Safari or Chrome on the phone, whatever you use, or the tablet, and then click on YouTube and then search Still Nick Fans. And then once you go to Still Nick Fans, because you're not signed in, it'll think of you just like a regular person. You'll be on the web browser, and then you will see this same page that I'm showing you right here on your screen. And you guys can see the join button is right here. You can only see this if you do it that way on the mobile device. But if you're on a computer or a laptop, as soon as you click on Still Nick Fans and see and go to this main page, you will see this automatically. And you just hit join, boom, and once you hit join, it brings up this screen, and you have 3 different levels. You get orange and blue level for $1.99, John Starks level for $4.99, and the 90s Nick level for $9.99 per month. You get some custom emojis, which are going to be changed in the next week. So look forward to that. You also get the Still Nick Fans emblem. You are a part of the team. And every time you post anything in the chat, it'll show up with this emblem next to it. Uh, and that's just the little doodads, I like to call them. But what we would like to do as well, especially going forward, is you're going to start to see some exclusive content. I'm going to do members only shows, and I may even do members only interviews. So, like, everybody got to see Coach Nick tonight, but it might be just a situation where if I'm interviewing Coach Nick or someone else, it's only for the members, at least initially. And then maybe I will release it for the everyone to see at a later time. Get it? So it'll be different things, different perks that's going to happen for the members to show it's not just me trying to get anything out of you guys. It's also to show my appreciation for you guys being such great people to the channel and supporting. So once again, thank you guys. That's the way to do it. Hit that join button, and that's how you become a part of the SKF Army. So salute to everybody. Stop that. Boom. Brooklyn Butch is like, boo. Listen, I still got y'all, man. Y'all family. I don't worry. There's gonna be plenty of content. We're gonna try to ramp this content game up a little bit and give you even more content. So stay tuned. Uh, yeah, shout out to you, Sherwood. Well, thank you. Yes, he will be on again in the future. At some point this season, we'll get him back. We're definitely not gonna wait. It was way too long. Uh, you know, between the last time we had him on. Uh, Yeah, that's a good question. 713 Gamer says, "How is it that you can cancel your membership but not join on your YouTube app?" I don't know. I don't know what that's about. It's crazy. It's wild. Uh hashtag bring dancing Ron back. Maybe. Let me tell you something. Knicks keep if they start winning games and put me in a good mood, you may see a lot of dancing Ron. Um, Shout out to my guy, the objective Knicks fan. I appreciate you, my brother. Salute to you guys. If you haven't checked out the objective Knicks fan and his channel, please do. Don't wait. Go do it right away. Subscribe. You won't be disappointed. He had a great show tonight. I was checking out some of it before getting ready for this show. Please show him some love. And I just want to give you a little quick shout out, Objective Knicks fan. Not last Saturday, but 2 weeks ago Saturday. This is how crazy I am in my brain. You were in the chat. I saw your name and I was about to shout you out and say what's up to you. And I got caught up and sidetracked and I didn't do it. And after the show, I said, damn it, I didn't say what's up to my guy. And I saw him and I was going to say what's up. So not only am I saying I apologize for that. What's up, my brother? I saw you last Saturday. Thank you for tuning in. But I just want to show you some love tonight as well. Thank you. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's it, man. Listen, I'm excited for tomorrow, opening day for New York Knicks basketball for the regular season. I can't wait. Once again, we're playing Boston to start the season. I don't know how they do it, but it always happens. I'm very optimistic about the season, and I hope the Knicks come out tomorrow and give a best effort. It's a best effort game because if the Knicks just go out there and play hard and with effort, anything can happen. Even if the shots aren't falling yet, you can fight, you can claw, you can hustle, you can rebound, you can give yourself second chance opportunities, you can play strong defense, get steals, you can create opportunities. The Knicks can still win tomorrow, even though they're still trying to find their chemistry and gelling and getting their three-point shot together. So I don't want to make it seem like it's doom and gloom. It'll be tough, but they can definitely win tomorrow. So let's go Knicks. I can't wait. This is going to be incredible. And I'm just looking forward to it. Also, after the show, guys, stay tuned because within the next 10 minutes or so, I'll be posting a little hype video that we did for this upcoming season. It'll be on Instagram. You'll see it on TikTok. It'll be on X, and it'll be on Facebook. So everywhere social media Still Knicks Fans is, you will see the video. It's a new season. I'm excited. And I can't wait to show you guys and for us all to, share in the season and be happy together, man, because I want to be in the parade. I want y'all to be there too. So let's get it done, man. Once again, guys, tell a friend who tells a friend who tells another friend. Still Knicks Fans. We'll be back again, whether it be on Monday nights at 9 p.m. for SKF Weekly with myself, my brother John, who will be back most likely next Monday, my brother Jose on the ones and twos. Some of y'all don't even know who Jose is if y'all new to the SKF Army, but he'll be joining us next week. Can't wait. Then also you can look for us on Saturdays for Know the Ledge as I try to talk y'all off the ledge, because this Saturday y'all was in your feelings. So I tried my best to kind of, get us right back where we need to be. We're going to be okay, guys. So please tune in and support the show, support the content. And also please continue to look for that NBA content that's going to be popping up on, Nothing But Knicks. We'll see if we can get our first show going later this week. But if not, it'll definitely be next week. But I'm trying to shoot for this week. Possibly we'll see if we do it Thursday or Friday, depending on the schedule. We'll try to make it happen. Thank you, Crimes Dad. Thanks for following, brother. I appreciate you. And thank you for being a part of the SKF Army. And once again, thank you for gifting all those, SKF Army memberships this past Saturday to your fellow Still Knicks fans. So, guys, you know what I always say: through the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups and the downs, no matter what, through it all, we are still Knicks fans. I will catch y'all in the next one. We'll see you. Let's go Knicks, baby. Tomorrow it happens. We ready?
freedom over fame. Freedom over cycle stays the same.